I am making a Runick Nordic deck profile. I haven't played any games with the deck yet, but I built it. I liked how it looks on paper, at least. And I figured I'd go ahead and start with the deck profile. Honestly, the only reason I wanted to combine Runick with Nordic is because of how they are both Norse mythology cards. So, because they're both based on Norse mythology, I figured why not see if there's any synergy, which in the theory I had to begin with does kind of make sense. So I figured I'd go ahead and make the deck profile. So starting off with the monsters, I play 3 copies of Nordic Beast Golem Bursty. Golem Bursty has the effect that it can be used as any Nordic tuner for the single summon of an Aesir monster, as well as when it's summoned, or you can only use its other 2 effects once per turn with its name, where when it's summoned, you can special summon a Nordic monster from your hand, and then you can target a Nordic monster in your graveyard, except for Golem Bursty, which is for both of these effects, and then add to your hand. Then next, I play 3 copies of Tangrasnir, the Nordic Beast. I only play this one because when it's destroyed in battle, it lets you summon 2 level 3 Nordic Beast tokens. And play 3 copies of Nordic Smith Evaldi. Evaldi can special summon as long as you control a Nordic or Aesir monster. And then once per turn, it lets you add a Nordic relic from deck to hand. Then I play 3 copies of Alvis of the Nordic Alfar. Alvis has the effect that if it's destroyed by battle card, or bleh, I don't know why I was thinking it was that. But if it's the only card that was banished by the effect of a Nordic Link monster, then you can send to the graveyard a Nordic monster you control and 2 from your deck that's levels equal 10 and special summon an Aesir monster. And its other effect is if an Aesir monster in your possession is sent to the graveyard by an opponent's card, you can banish this card from your graveyard, then special summon an Aesir monster from your extra deck with a different name. And you can only use 1 of the 2 Alvis effects per turn. And then that is it for the monsters. Moving on to the spells. All the Runick spells, except for Fountain and Allure, have the effect of they can each special summon a Runick fusion monster. First, I play 1 copy of Runick's Smiting Storm. Smiting Storm has the effect that you can special summon a Runick monster from your extra deck. They all have that effect except for Allure and Fountain. Anyway, it lets you banish the cards from the top of your opponent's deck up to the number of cards they control. However, usually this will be used to summon some of your extra Runick monsters. Then I play 1 copy of Runick Spelling and 1 copy of Runick Droplet. All 3 of these, as far as I can tell, are usually used to summon from your extra deck. But their other abilities are every once in a while useful, whereas Droplet lets your opponent draw a card and then they banish the top 4 cards of their deck. And then Dispelling has the effect that if your opponent adds a card from their deck to the hand, you can then randomly discard a card from their hand and then banish the top 2 cards from their deck. Which, they do have their uses sometimes, but they're usually used to summon extra deck monsters. Next, I play 1 copy of Runick Allure. Runick Allure just makes so that each time a quick play spell is activated, you banish the top card of your opponent's deck, and you can only control 1 Runick Allure, so I figured only play the 1. Worst case scenario, I don't like it, and I take it out of the deck. Next, I play 2 copies of Runick Fountain. Runick Fountain lets you activate quick play spells from your hand during your opponent's turn. Or that you activate Runick quick play spells from your hand during your opponent's turn. And then when a Runick quick play spell resolves, you can shuffle any number of Runick. Let's see, this has to be a quick play spell. You can target up to 3 Runick quick play spells in your grave, shuffle them, put them at the bottom of the deck in any order, and then draw an equal number of cards. So what you can do is you can activate something like Runick Smiting Storm, then target up to 3 Runick spells in grave, put them at the bottom of the deck, and draw 3 cards. Next, I play 3 copies of Hippo Carnival. Hippo Carnival is only in here for one of the extra deck monsters, which I'll explain that when I get to it, but it just runs 3 Hippo tokens. Next, I also play 3 copies of Time Tearing Morganite. When you activate this card, it prevents you from using monster effects from your hand, but you do get 2 normal summons per turn, and you get to draw 2 cards during your draw phase instead of just 1. And then you can banish this card from the graveyard, so that your opponent can activate cards or effects in response to you summoning a monster. And then next, I play 3 copies of Runick Freezing Curses. Freezing Curses lets you target an effect monster your opponent controls, negates effects, and then your opponent banishes the top 3 cards of their deck. Then I play 3 copies of Runick Destruction. Destruction lets you target a spell trap your opponent controls, destroy it, and then banish 4 cards from your opponent's deck. And then Flashing Fire, I play 3 of. Lets you special summon, or you target a special summon monster your opponent controls, destroy it, and then banish 2 cards from the top of your opponent's deck. And then I play 3 copies of Runick Slumber. Runick Slumber lets you target a face-up monster on the field. Next time that monster will be destroyed by battle or card effect, it's not. Also, it cannot attack this turn. And then, after applying this effect, banish top 3 cards of your opponent's deck. Then lastly, I play 3 copies of Runick Tip. Runick Tip lets you add a Runick card from your deck to your hand except for another tip, and then you banish the top card of your opponent's deck. And with those Nordic spells, like I said, Runick spells, like I said before, they all have the effect of special summon a monster from the extra deck. And then for the traps, I only play 3 copies of Nordic Relic Svalin. Svalin has 2 effects, where if you have a Nordic monster, if you have an ACR monster in play, you can activate its effect to then negate the effects of all face-up cards your opponent controls at the end of the turn. Or you contribute a Nordic monster to target an ACR monster in your graveyard and special summon it. You can only use one of those 2 effects per turn and only once that turn. And that is it for the main deck. I believe the main deck is 42-ish cards. For the extra deck, I play 3 copies of Golvig of the Nordic Ascendant. Golvig has the effect that when it's link summoned, you can banish up to 3 cards from your hand and or field. And if you do, you get to special summon that many Nordic monsters from your deck in defense. And you cannot special summon for the rest of this turn except ACR monsters, nor can you normal summon or set monsters. And then while there's an ACR monster in a zone Golvig points to, Golvig cannot be targeted for attacks, while that ACR monster cannot be targeted by card effects. So the point of the Hippo Carnival is that you summon Golvig, activate Golvig's effect, chain the Carnival, and then you summon 3 Hippo tokens. Then you can, I believe it's remove them from play, I can never remember. Then you remove the 3 tokens from play to then special summon 3 of the Nordic monsters, which normally will be Golden Bursty, Tangrisnir, and Evaldi. Or if you already have Evaldi, then you would use Alvis. But basically, Hippo Carnival was only here for a 1-card thing, so you don't have to banish anything to then get your ACR monster. Then next, I play 1 copy of Loki, Lord of the Aesir. Loki is honestly the worst of the Nordic gods cards in this deck, where if your opponent activates a trap card during the battle phase, Loki can negate it, and then during the end phase of the turn, Loki is destroyed. You can remove a Nordic Alfar in your graveyard or a Nordic Alfar tuner in your graveyard from play, special summon it, and then you get to add I believe it's a trap. You can target a trap in your graveyard and add it to your hand. That effect will never be used. Normally, if you're summoning Loki, it's because you already summoned the others 3 already. And I say 3 because I also play 2 copies of Thor, just because I see Thor as being the best of the 3. As Thor has the effect where you can negate the effects of all face-up monsters your opponent currently controls, and then be able to activate its effect during the end phase. If it's destroyed, then you can banish an Aesir. You can banish a Nordic Beast Tuner from your graveyard, special summon it, and then, if summoned this way, inflict 800 damage. Then lastly, I play one copy of Odin. Odin has the effect where once per turn, you can make him unaffected by... what was it? By spell and trap cards, so the end of the turn. And then you can ban, if it's destroyed, then during the end phase you can banish a Nordic Ascendant Tuner, summon it from the grave, and then you get a draw card. However, there are no Nordic Ascendants or Alphars in this deck, so the only one you can actually try to revive is Thor. But these monsters are mainly in here just so you have an Aesir monster to use with Nordic Relics Fallen. Then next I play 2 copies of Hugin the Runick Wings. Hugin has the effect that when special summoned from the extra deck, you can discard a card to add a Runick field spell from your deck to your hand. And if another card or cards you control be destroyed by card effect, you can banish this card you control. And then, if this card on the field is destroyed by battle or card effect, you can return it to the extra deck. So normally, Hugin is just what you would summon off of a Runick spell to get your field spell, and then you can use this protected field spell from being destroyed, or if your opponent just attacks over it first, then it just goes back to the extra deck. Then I play 2 copies of Moonin the Runick Wings. Moonin has the effect that when special summoned from the extra deck, you can discard a card to add a Runick continuous spell from your deck to your hand. Which, that's just a lure. And then when your opponent activates a card or effect that targets a Runick card you control, or a set card you control, you can banish this card and negate the activation if you destroy that card. And then, once per turn, during the end phase, you gain 1,000 light points. So, Moonin can technically help if you ever go to time, or just being able to negate things that would target. Then I play 2 copies of Guri of the Nordic Fangs, or I think it's Guri. But Guri has the effect where it can't be destroyed by card effects. If it's special summoned from the extra deck, you can target a non-quick play Runick spell in your graveyard to add to your hand, so similarly you add back Runick Allure or Runick Fountain. And should then add to your hand, and then once the card is destroyed by battle, you can target 1 card in the field and destroy it. So it's just an interruption if your opponent destroys it. Then I play 1 copy of Freki the Runick Fangs. Freki has the effect that when an attack is declared involving this card in the extra monster zone, you can banish up 2 cards from your opponent's deck. Or you banish the top 2 cards of your opponent's deck. Neither player takes any battle damage from battles involving this card. And then if this card on the field is destroyed by battle or card effect, you can target a Runick quick play spell in your graveyard, add to your hand. You only use each effect of Freki once per turn. And finally, I play 1 copy of Sleipnir the Runick Mane. Sleipnir has the effect of during your main phase or your opponent's battle phase, you can target 1 face-up card your opponent controls, banish both that monster and this card until the end phase. And then if a card cards add from the main deck to your opponent's hand, except in damage step, you can special summon 1 Runick token. And in an attack position, you can only use each effect of Sleipnir once per turn. So pretty much that whole point is just that gives you another body. So your opponent can't get to your life points as easily. But that is it for my Runick Nordic deck profile. If you have any ideas what I can do to improve the deck, any ideas like to see me made in the future, or decks like to see face each other, feel free to comment down below. Thanks for watching.